Hello, and let's continue. Now we are going to use the reader response theory to try to understand and maybe explain some of the short stories from the book Dubliners by James Joyce. The three short stories I chose were Eveline, A Little Cloud, and A Mother. Okay, so if you are asking yourself what is the reader response theory, I'm going to explain it right now. Okay, let's be clear about the important role that the reader has on this theory. The reader is the one that have like this conversation with the text, but this one, okay, let's say that the text gives some expectations to the reader, but the interpretations are going to be the response to the reader in front of the text. That's why the reader is so important. This reader has a baggage. It is important because this theory had the critic uh, because of um, the social cultural uh, facts on the text, everything related with the writer, his life, for example. It is important, but that is the cause of the critics this theory. But when we see that there is a baggage on the reader, this let us see that maybe these aspects are going to be included on the way it reads. Okay, let's have that in mind, and I will try to explain it better. Okay, on the short story Eveline, we can find a very interesting story. This is a story of uh, this girl. There is very young. She has 19 years old, and she have like this very hard life. Okay, on the story, it is I'm going to underline some aspects like the narration, the nostalgic and memories, the unexpected and the interpretations we can find here. I'm going to talk from my point of view and how I interpret the story. There is a quote here, and it says, "Still they seem to have been rather happy then. Her father was not so bad then, and besides, her mother was alive." What we can find on this quote is something that we can find all over the text, and is this like nostalgic from the past, and is like the past were better than the present and so much better than the future, because on this story we can see how everything is going worse and worse and worse, and that is amazing because at the end we will find an unexpected end, something that is unpredictable, but at the same time something that if we read the story, we have a baggage, and we see like it was unpredictable, unexpected, but at the same time it had like the sense, because we understand Evelyn, and the way that the text is described, it makes you feel inside of Evelyn. So the narration, it's it's very interesting because it's like to be inside of Evelyn, but also outside. You can see her, and sometimes you make like you think what should what should she done, or something like that. Also, there is an atmosphere all over the text that is related with the past, with some elements that has like this nostalgic feeling. For example, on one part it talks about home, the photograph, the age of Evelyn, and these are facts that make us think about the past, like wanting to come back. Yeah. Um. Okay. There is another quote here, and it says, "He was shooted at to go on, but he still called to her. She set her white face to him, passive, like a helpless animal. Her eyes gave him no sign of love or farewell or recognition." This made part of, let's repeat it, a part of the text that is related with another character. There is Frank. And Frank is very interesting because let's talk about interpretations, and this character has so many elements to be interpreted because Frank arrives to Evelyn's life where things are terribly bad, and he is like so calm, like he bring to Evelyn's like this idea of something better, and at the end Evelyn took a decision that you guys should read this true story to know how unexpected it is. But also it led us with like this feeling, or at least it led me with this feeling of think about it, of of wondering why, and try to make this reading again. But it happens all the time. You can read it like two or three times, and you feel the same. It's something amazing. This short story makes me think about, and I found a huge relation on the narration with the short story from Julio Cortázar called Continuidad en los Parques, where you can have that feeling too, like you are lost on the narration, but at the same time you you go to some points on it where you said like what, and you want to come back, but you realize that this is the way of the story, that you are walking side by side with the text, that you are the one that is living the text. Let's say that way. This happened on the short story. Then, with the short story of A Little Cloud, I found I found a different experience with this one, and the same happened with the next one. I'm going to talk about, but let's focus on this one now. And I found a dialogue between the opposites. If we see the title, A Little Cloud, the main character is Little Chandler. A little cloud, I think about this figure of the cloud, like something that is that is still on the sky, but at the same time it is still, but the wind is the one that moves it. Yeah, and this is very important because I found this relation with the character of Ignatius Gallagher, because this character, and even if you uh, hear the name Ignatius, it sounds like something huge. And I found that relation because it's like little Chandler, this word little, and then Ignatius with this yes that sounds like huge. Yeah, and it's like these opposites, little and huge. Uh, Also, if we talk about opposites, is like still and like movement and stillness. Uh, okay, on this story also there is something that calls my attention a lot of, because it's this idea of movement and the idea of the trouble too, because this story is on a movement from, like a geographic movement from Dublin to London to Paris. And this travel is it's represent, let's say, by Ignatius Gallagher, because he's the one that has been traveling, and this is the one that is huge. But then little Chandler is a man that has his family, and that feel himself like someone very still, without movement, like with the routine, and that also found a lot of family conflicts. Uh, we can find on this short story also the element of the photo related with memories, and there's some sorrow on it, because when this character took the photo, it bring him like a bad feeling. And then, and it was something I didn't set on the on the another story, but it's a relation I found on the three of the short story, and even on more of the stories of the book, that is like this human condition, that is related with like a sorrow, like something that is despair. And and yes, I have a quote here, and it says, of listening to Gallagher's stories and of sharing for a brief space Gallagher's background and triumph life, obsessed the equipoise of his sensitive nature. He felt acutely the contrast between his own life and his friends, and it seems to him unjust. This word contrast is very important, because on the contrast you can see that dialogue between opposites. Yeah, we are talking about this triumphant life and the contrast with his own life, the movement and the contrast with the stillness, and also the contrast between the little and the huge, and the movement, and that idea of the triumph on the movement. That this is amazing because that was an interpretation that I found less sensitive than the one I had with Eveline, but this is more symbolical, I think, because I found a lot of elements, symbolical elements, like the names that makes me arrive to this interpretation, and the interpretations go beyond of what I'm saying, because at the end is like a whole let's say like things about life, about the humans, about the sense of the things, about some social ideas too, and human social ideas. And that's something that makes me think, because if one of the critics from the video response is that it lays by aside these elements, we can see that even if we don't take into account this from the perspective of the writer, for example, it didn't mean that these elements are not on our interpretation process, because we as sub as individuals, we have on our baggage social elements too, and I can found these relations with my social reality, with my uh, human condition feeling, and things like that, and that's something amazing. Okay, but now to arrive almost to an end, uh, I'm going to talk from another experience, and this is something I want to underline from this book, and is the difference in experience you can find on any of the short stories. They can be very, very different, because, for example, when I read A Mother, I took two elements, money and art, and it makes me think immediately about the legend of Faust, this German legend that is related with the book Faust from Goethe, by Goethe, sorry, and is this idea of sell the soul of an artist, and we're talking about arts like something very related with the sense of things, with the human perspective and feelings and exploration, and so that uh, the god or devil of money, yeah. And 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 this story is from this mother that wants money, and by let's say that she sold her daughter to the to a group from her to be like famous, but at the same time the only thing the mother wants is the money, yeah. So she's selling the talent of her daughter on music, uh, but the thing she wants is the money. So when I found this relation with Faust, I can arrive to to pretty cool ways of reading. Yeah, because I'm not just talking about me, but I'm talking about my reality, my things, um, that reality I see and that I perceive. So, as a way of conclusion, this is a very interesting book that that let us have a lot of interpretations, and maybe if we see some something with related with the life of Joyce and some critical point, we can also find elements. But and I think that this theory of the reader response is very interesting is because of the dialogue between text and reader, and also another dialogue inside of the reader and their and that the reader thinks and interpretate about not just the text but his own reality or her own ideas. Um, and I think that this is a very interesting book that at least one of the short stories should be written, and it gave us a lot of symbolical aspects. It gave us a lot of elements that allow us to have these these discussions inside of our minds, and that keeps with us and is a very nice feeling. So I think that that's all, and thank you very much for your time, and let's read at least one of the short story, and I'm pretty sure that you guys will would like to read more than one. That's all, and thank you for everything. Goodbye.